Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. We bring you this video update every single morning to help you catch up with things that you might have missed out on whilst you were catching up on some all important rest. Because let's face it, whilst you and I need sleep, the world of sport doesn't really sleep. There's always something or the other going on, and it can be a little much to catch up with every single thing that's happening. But worry not, that's what we're here for. And let's start off with some Rohit and Kohli related news because, of course, the two Indian veterans continue to be in the news cycle for whether or not they'll be playing in the 2027 World Cup or not. Well, they have gotten some unlikely backing from across the border because Shahid Afridi, the former Pakistan captain, has actually come out and publicly backed both of them to play the 2027 World Cup. This is what he actually said. He said that it's a fact that Virat and Rohit are the backbone of the Indian batting lineup, and the way they have played in the recent ODI series, it can confidently be said that they can play until the 2027 World Cup. So that is what Afridi believes. And what's more, he even spoke further about the fact that Rohit Sharma recently broke a record that had been won, which Afridi held. That, of course, being the record for the most sixes in ODI cricket. This is what Afridi had to say when it came to that particular record. He said that records are meant to be broken, and this too is now better. I am happy that a player whom I've always liked has broken this record. Of course, it is, let's say, one of those things that is one of a very mixed reactions that comes in from a Shahid Afridi. And we know that at times he tends to just spout some nonsense, which will have a lot of people scratching their heads. This time around, the hard to agree with what he said. In fact, one of the other things he also mentioned, and this was a bit of a dig, very not even a subtle dig at Gautam Gambhir. He said that Gautam Gambhir, when he started out coaching, he felt that everything he was doing was right, and this was in reference to Roku, saying that obviously things since then have proved that you can't always be right as the head coach all the time. So even in his praise for all of India's veterans, he hadn't forgotten or didn't miss out on the chance to take a dig at Gambhir. More cricket news, but there's plenty going on in that sense. So the IPL auction list for 2026, the 2026 mini auction, which is less than a week away now. In fact, exactly a week away now. It has been pruned. You'd remember that 1,335 players had registered for the auction, but now that list has been pruned now. It has been reduced to 350 players, which kind of makes sense given there's only about 77 slots for each team to be filled overall. That's the total number of slots that can be filled. And every team doesn't fill out all of those slots, by the way. So 1,000 odd players registering, it never really made any sense for them actually being that many. And now that list has been pruned. But even in that pruning, there have been a few notable additions to the auction list, none perhaps more notable than Quinton de Kock. In fact, Quinton de Kock has made a surprise entry back into the IPL auction list despite having not registered for the auction earlier. In fact, he had not registered for the auction but was put back into the auction list and chose to sign up after a recommendation from a particular franchise. And in fact, he's halved his base price. Last year, he was available for the base price of 2 crores and obviously whatever came up after that. But this time around, he's halved his base price to 1 crore, making him a potentially attractive option, even in the accelerated list where some team can keep him as a backup, if not a starting option. He didn't have a great season last year with KKR, which is why they chose to release him. But Quinton is a quality player, has done it in the IPL, and I wouldn't be surprising if some franchise ended up picking him up as a backup option at the very least, especially if they could get him at a lower price. More cricket news, this time not IPL related, it's Ashes related. Bad news for Australia as Josh Hazelwood has been now ruled out of the entirety of the Ashes series. There were fears that that would be the case when he suffered a hamstring injury in the build-up to his. He had ended up in the build-up to his return. You'd remember that he was actually training alongside a Pat Cummins in the nets, and in fact, they had both been looking to recover. Whilst Cummins' recovery is going good, Hazelwood ended up suffering an injury in that process, and now it's been confirmed by Australia's head coach Andrew McDonald that yeah, he's not going to be playing any part in the Ashes. Although considering how well Australia have done without him, it's probably not a big miss in that sense. Although of course they would have wanted him back, but a few some of the ways, of course, that you would have been wanting to do even better is by having someone like Hazelwood. But Hazelwood now, unfortunately, will in fact be missing out on the rest of the Ashes. And as I said, well, it's a morning sports wrap, so let's focus on some news beyond the world of cricket now. And Mohamed Salah, the Liverpool star, caused a lot of waves when he spoke out after their game against Leeds United. And well, the shockwaves that have continued to be felt because Salah has now been dropped from Liverpool squad for their Champions League tie at Inter Milan. And this is after he ended up coming out, in fact, very hard at Arne Slot. He came very hard at Slot. He came hard at the club, even though he didn't really burn too many bridges there. But that criticism has now led him being dropped for the Inter Milan game as well. He's not going to be part of the squad, and he will be forced of surviving a little bit of a scare against Wolverhampton Wanderers at Molineux because they were 1-0 down at one point in time. But thereafter, secured a victory, came back, beat them 4-1, and they are now up to sixth in the Premier League. It's been such a volatile season, really, for a lot of clubs in the Premier League that even United, many of whom have been ridiculing, are now suddenly up to sixth and are actually ahead of Liverpool in the standings. The defending champions not having a good time of things so far this season. And United, despite all the criticism, currently sit at a better position than them. And you remember in yesterday's morning wrap, if you guys tuned in, I mentioned that the Serie A, the Italian domestic top flight league, has in fact been one of the more competitive leagues in the football calendar this year. And well, yesterday it was Napoli who ended the day top of the table after they beat Juventus 2-1. Well, now Christian Pulisic has ensured that AC Milan are the team who are top of Serie A because he scored twice as they beat Torino 3-2, and it was a comeback victory because they were 2-1 down. They ended up coming back to a 3-2 win courtesy of Pulisic's goals, and now they are back at the top of the Serie A table. It's a very competitive table this time around, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on the league for obvious reasons, but it has been a phenomenal start to the league. And again, it's already December, so you could be seeing the league race go down to the absolute wire. Some couple of more sports news coming up now before we actually call it quits in this. R. Pragananda, we had done the breaking news in this yesterday, will be India's sole male representative in the candidates tournament that is set to take place in the early parts of 2026. But India does also have three women chess players who will be playing. There's Divya Deshmukh, there's Kuneru Hampi, and Pragnanda's sister Vaishali all have qualified for the women's candidates next year. So whilst India's men's talent, obviously there was a bit of a disappointment there that there was only one. The fact that we have three women candidates, very good indeed. And last but not the least, today you will see the seventh season of the Tennis Premier League taking place. It'll be starting today. This is December 9th. It'll end on December 14th. And it's going to be taking place at the Gujarat University Tennis Stadium in Ahmedabad. Obviously, this is one of those tournaments which doesn't quite garner the attention it deserves. But remember, it will feature a Rohan Bopanna as well. And Bopanna has retired from top flight tennis. So this is going to be one of those last few times you get to see the legend himself in action. It'll be interesting to see how it goes about. And that's it from us from this edition of the Morning Wrap. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, don't forget if you enjoy our work to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon. Also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, X, and Facebook. And don't forget to stay tuned through the day for more news from the world of sport. For now, from my side, it's